Shabbat Shalom, everybody. My grandparents, may they rest in peace, they used to say this phrase, and of course they weren't the only ones who said it, they grew up with this. And the phrase, I just remember it was entirely in Yiddish, but there was one word that I remember, which is the word pekel. A pekel is kind of like a package that you carry with you, and what they would say is everybody has a pekel. Everybody has a package. Everybody has something that they're carrying. Everybody has something that they're struggling with. And I wanted to reflect on that a little bit this morning and what we should do about our realization that everybody is carrying something. So a few weeks ago, the journalist Frank Bruni wrote about a situation that confronted him. He had a minor stroke, and as a result of the stroke, the vision in his right eye became blurry. And he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, several things can happen. Your vision could improve in your right eye. It could also get worse. And your left eye's vision could also get worse. And he wrote about this, and he said that on the one hand, his eyesight got worse, but in a way, his vision got a little bit better because he started to understand that so many people are carrying something, that so many of his friends are actually enduring struggles that he didn't know about. Some of them started to open up to him when he revealed his own circumstance. People struggle with emotional challenges that we don't necessarily know about. People struggle with financial challenges that we don't necessarily know about. And all of these struggles can be, of course, beneath the radar. And each one of us might have something going on in our own lives, and we don't carry a sign that says, guess what? Here's what I'm going through. But it is a major part of how we face each day and how we face the world. The poet Thoreau famously said that most people live lives of quiet desperation. And of course, Pink Floyd included that phrase in one of their songs. So to give a few examples, if you are a parent and you have a child who is going through chronic challenges, you know how hard that is because it is part of your everyday reality. The people around you don't necessarily know about that struggle. If you have, for example, social anxiety, you know how difficult it is to be around other people, but the people around you might not sense how much you're struggling. If you have insecurity over your job, if you have food or housing insecurity, you certainly understand that struggle. The people around you don't necessarily know how much it is that you are struggling. And of course, we're aware of our own challenges. We're not necessarily aware of the challenges of the people around us. And so the question that I want to pose this morning is, what might we do about that? So the first thing that we might do is try to understand people's challenges and to sort of get them to open up. That's not so easy to do. Most people are not so necessarily prepared to open up about the challenges that they're facing. If we say to someone, how are you? And they say, fine, we're not likely, unless we really know the person well, to say, I don't believe you. How are you actually? We have those superficial conversations. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. And then we both move on when the other person isn't fine. It is difficult to ask the follow-up questions. It is difficult to get to a place where somebody confides whatever struggle they might be engaged in. The second possibility is we do nothing. We just go on business as usual. Hi, how are you? Fine. We do whatever it is that we do. The problem with that is that sometimes we're actually acting in ways that are insensitive. Sometimes we are acting in ways that project a kind of impatience or grumpiness to the people around us. And then that tends to create all of these negative energies, and who wants that? So this brings me to a third possibility, which I wanted to suggest for us this morning. And the third possibility is that we take a breath, we pause for a moment before we say hello to somebody, before we respond to something that someone has said, and we try hard in that moment to think, perhaps there's something going on in this person's life. Even if I don't know what it is, there might be something going on such that I'm going to proceed with a little bit more gentleness, with a little bit more equanimity. And then if we pause, we might actually respond differently. So somebody says something at a meeting that we don't like, or somebody posts something on social media that we don't like, or somebody cuts in front of us online at the Kiddush, or somebody just looks at us funny. Whatever the situation might happen to be, what would it look like if we just paused for a moment to say to ourselves some version of, there's something that I might not understand. I might not have the full picture here right now, and I am going to extend a little bit of magnanimity, a little bit of largesse. And that can also be true, by the way, if the person hasn't done anything that's problematic. They're just standing near us in the supermarket, or they're just at the table next to us at the Kiddush, calmly eating their tuna fish. Whatever the situation might be, we can take that pause for a moment and hopefully extend ourselves a little bit. Now, I want to put this in a spiritual context, and specifically a Jewish spiritual context. So we read in the Torah about all sorts of individuals that are living out their lives in the context of an unfolding cosmic drama. And I want to take as a classic example Moses. Now, we don't often know that much about the inner lives of the people who are described in the Torah. We know that Moses was a leader. We know that he was with the people. But you know what? We actually do know a fair amount about his inner life. We know that he did not want to be a leader. We know that when God said to him, go to Pharaoh and tell them, let the people go, he said, Mi ani, who am I? We know that he didn't want the job. We know that he also had some interesting internal dynamics about his own upbringing, being raised in the palace of Pharaoh and really not quite sure how to assert himself as an Israelite. And we know, as we read in recent Parshiyot, that Moses will say to God, Hareini na et kavodecha, show me your glory, show me your essence. Perhaps because he is frustrated with the people. He has this connection to God that is his own story, his inner life, if you will. And did the people always get that? Not really. Or it seems that they didn't get it. When he failed to satisfy their expectations, they complained to him without being so mindful of what his actual struggles might have been. There is a blessing that you are supposed to recite when you see a lot of people together. And the blessing acknowledges God as Chacham Harazim. You say, praised are you, God, who is the wise one who understands the secrets. It's such an interesting blessing. Why that blessing when you see a whole bunch of people? Because our ancestors understood that only God knows the secrets that everybody is carrying. Only God understands the inner lives of the very many people that are gathered in the same space. And so Chacham Harazim is a way of saying, okay, God knows. But of course, we don't. We don't. So what do? And I want to leave us with the following thought. It comes from the sage Shammai. Shammai was not known for his patience. He was not known for his forbearance. He was the one, in comparison with Hillel, who would give people answers that were often testy and impatient. So perhaps the advice that he gave, which is recorded in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, was addressed as much to him as to others. And here is what he said, Hevei mikabel et kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafot. Greet everyone, kol adam, with a cheerful face. That's what he said. You know what? The world is a complicated place. There are geopolitical realities that we cannot solve. There are endemic problems that we can think about and we can offer suggestions about, but ultimately, individually, we cannot solve. One thing that we can do is to greet people with a cheerful face. One thing that we can do is to say to ourselves after we pause for a moment, I don't know the secrets that the other person is carrying. I don't understand that other person's inner life. But if I have one, if I have an inner life, if I'm struggling, chances are the other person is too. And so I encourage us to pause for a moment, to think about what we don't know about the other, and if possible, to respond Besever panim yafot. Shabbat shalom.